Hello and welcome to Gwent. This is a special episode where I mainly talk about locks and somewhat about counters and their impact in the game because they're a really new thing and maybe they are not performing as well as they should. For example, we should start with the Demeritium Shackles that players overreacted about before the patch came out, but after the patch came out, it became very obvious it is only truly worth it against, maybe worth it actually, against two targets. And that two targets are Yennefer Conjurer. So you lock Yennefer, it becomes a 4 strength silver for a price of a bronze card, and the same thing happens to Villantra Mert. Instead of the ability triggering, it becomes a 4 strength silver. So, but still there's a 4-point difference, and maybe somewhat argue that there's a 4-point difference between a gold and a bronze. Still, I would argue it's kind of okay, but it's way too niche to include it just for that. The only other deck that runs it is the Leto deck, just for the sake of demoting Leto and getting it back, but I guess they're just here because they say that their base strength is not removed by the shackle. So if they get shackled, their base strength is not removed. So that just makes shackle even worse. The second locker is Assassination, which destroys, actually locks and destroys a unit. And locking and destroying, it sounds like a very strong effect. But if you usually want this effect, Igni is usually the way to go, and burn effect is fairly strong in this game because they can potentially burn 2 targets at once. Your opponent just plays 2 Nilfgaardian Knights and you burn them both down. That's a 22-point swing, plus the body you get for Geralt Igni, very strong, or maybe just simply with Scorch. And Assassination kind of struggles to be included still, because locking is not that important. Of course, in the previous patch, Morgvarg buffing was fairly present, and in this patch too, not Morgvarg buffing, but in this patch too, is also we really stay away from any buffs because high units can be very much punished, and most decks very much stay away from that because you don't want to get 2 for 1, because 2 for 1, and that's all it takes to lose the game. And unless you're, this lock and destroy only really makes sense against Morgvarg or maybe a locked up, I don't know, champion of champions, but that's basically it. So lock is not that important. It's a nice touch, but I'm not saying, I mean, like, probably it shouldn't hit golds, but it still struggles to find its place. This could be a card you could include as a budget player though, so it's an epic. It's not too bad, but you're basically trading a gold for a silver, and that's not a trade you want to look for, and it's also situational. Situational, trade gold for a silver. Not great. Let's just jump over Red with my boy, because he's one of the trickier ones to talk about. Cleaver. So he's a 6 strength and locks one guy, and now that's very interesting right away. So, but we gotta learn about, so these are of course destroy and lock. This is of course can lock the gold. It's only worth against those 2 golds and nothing else. And of course has a situational combo with Leto. But what can Cleaver lock up? Well, it can lock up Arakas, for example. Look at this. Arakas is a 6 strength spider, and if Cleaver locks it up, it doesn't spawn Arakas. So it's just a preventive measure. It doesn't like go back. Like most silence effects in the games would be also go back. So if you, for example, you got buffed up and you get silenced, then any future effects, abilities you have, any abilities you have will not trigger, and also all kinds of buff you had are stripped from you. So lock is definitely weaker. It's separate from that. It doesn't do both of those things. That's a base strength reset. So anyway, if Cleaver locks up Araka's Behemoth, it's just a 6 power silver locking up a 6 power bronze. Is it worth it? Probably not. Even if it's the core of his strategy, it's probably not worth it. You can lock up a Grave Hag, and that could be worth it. That is most definitely worth it. So situation, it could be good. So this is the only target in monsters that Cleaver can truly gain value from. Of course, if you lock up a Arakas, it could worth it for you, because the Arakas is the key in his strategy, and he might just get out like 3 spiders, then your Cleaver just got you 15 value. So overall, it's not too bad. So Cleaver is something you can include in your deck, but of course Ox is a 2-point stronger version of Cleaver, is a lot more enticing include in decks. And some units, like the Reinforced Siege Tower, are just really enticing to targets to lock up, because it just gets really strong. It has a really strong ability and really weak base strength. So if you lock this up with Cleaver, you definitely want to do that. It's a good value for you. But there is actually a counter to lock, and that's Decoy. If the Siege Tower gets locked, your opponent and most Northern Realm guys run Decoy because they have Priscilla, they have Nanaki, those can be replayed. They usually have King of Beggars as well. They have an amazing synergy with Decoy. And if you lock up a Siege Tower, he's just simply gonna decoy the Siege Tower, and now he's gonna have a 7 power Siege Tower he can just resurrect. Also, another topic, with the Arakas, where we were right there. So for example, if instead of just locking up the Arakas, we were talking about lasering it, also thundering it, then you trade a bronze for a bronze, but that bronze in their deck is the key to their strategy. And that is clearly a good trade. It's a better value than Cleaver for an Arakas, because you're trading a silver for to shut down a bronze in their strategy. So yeah, it's gotta be mentioned that Altsters can really shut down some strategies, and it's clearly worth it. And something is just really good played early, for example, a Smuggler. If you see a Smuggler get dropped early, you can just Altsters Thunder it, no problem. Because the whole point of this unit is that they drop it early, it gets strong, that's really good. But sometimes they just draw into it late and it's garbage. So yeah, this is a worthy target. And if you lock it up, it's okay, but it's not as big of a value as just thundering it. So also Thunder can definitely shut down some units that seem like good for locks, but these units are somewhat rare in the sets. Anyway, but we have units with abilities that are not as great. Like, they are good units, like Trebuchet, Reinforced Trebuchet, but every turn remove 1 strength from a random opposing non-god unit. It's kind of in the situation of the Arakas. Like, 6 strength kind of does its own thing, but would you really lock this up with a Cleaver? You would do it, because if you're up against Northern Realm, this is probably the best value you're gonna get. If he's not running the Siege Towers. But again, this is not so great. And if you laser it, you might have medics. It's not that big a deal either. Just saying that Cleaver is very, very slim value here. I mean, trading a Cleaver for a Trebuchet is definitely not what you want to do. So Cleaver is borderline. Most definitely. But against X-Men, for example, these are 4 power guys. Like, the lower the power, basically the stronger the ability. And the Skellige definitely does a run. Ways to decoy them. So if you lock this up with a Cleaver, that's a good deal. And that's a single target lock. Cleaver a little bit struggles to find its value now and then, but if you have Ox, available to you as a nerf guard, I believe this guy is worth it. He doesn't have to get too much value out of its lock. Even locking up a trebuchet could be like okay. If you lock up a trebuchet early, like you're gonna get some value out of it. It's gonna earn its keep. So this is a more reasonable locker card. And these are just the cards that don't lose base damage when locked. However, these are the interesting ones, and I believe their effect is a little bit forced with the positioning patch. Itlin. Choose 3 adjacent units, lock or unlock non-gold units among them. Locked units lose all tokens and have no ability until replayed or moved to hand. So it even says moving to hand is removes it. But so Itlin is a 6 power gold with basically a lock. It might not seem like it, but he's basically a gold cleaver. And why is that? Because your opponent can very easily play around cards like this, unless he set up his deck in such a way that you really can play around it, but he really shouldn't have, because he can just go. All your opponent has to do is just place 1 important unit, then 2 unimportant units that don't get affected by lock, and another important unit on the other side. And he usually doesn't have more than 2. At least I don't really run into those lucky draws. And for most cases, this is the hidden nature of this card, Itlin, could work in its favor. Maybe players won't expect you to drop Itlin, and maybe they just play into her. But in most cases, she's just gonna be a golden cleaver. And for that reason alone, it's just not good enough. And we only mentioned the strongest card you can lock, X-Man and the Siege Tower. Those are the strongest interactions. In many matchups, lock just does nothing. Like, think of it like a clear sky. You have a clear sky, but it does nothing. Would you run a clear sky that had no secondary effect, like rally? You would not. And we get to my boy, finally, rid of it. This guy. Wow. I played around him with a lot because, hey, this is a new effect. I wanna check it out. I wanna learn about locks like a lot, and I did. I played him a lot in the top 100. Nonetheless, my games were not really won because of him. Sometimes he was good. Sometimes your opponent plays into them. Like usually, the usual case you see like Arakas plus Ran, somewhat close to each other, you lock them up. But other cases, he's just terrible. Like, in some matchups, he's just half as good Manticore Venom. Because you do 2 damage to 3 targets. And that's the best you can do. And sometimes your opponent doesn't even give you like 3 targets next to each other. Some decks are the control. Some control decks don't even give you that much. And if you're talking about locking targets, you're looking for slim value. Like locking up a single smuggler. So he basically becomes a 2 power, like, deal 2 damage and lock up 1 unit. Or, best case scenario, he becomes this is a best case scenario. Because, unlike Itlin, he's face up. Everyone's gonna play around him. So, best case scenario, he becomes a deal 2 damage, up to 2 damage, to up to 3 units, and lock 1 of them. That's his. That's it. And cleaver is better than him in every single time, unless your opponent is just, for example, just doesn't read what your hero power does, because he can effortlessly play around it. For example, the master player can go Arakas, triple crone, Arakas on the other side. What are you gonna do? You're gonna hit one of the Arakas and hit the crones. So you're gonna do 6 damage, one of the Arakas is silence. Will it be a good value? That's how you feel about it. And yeah, Mr. Boy Radovid, my boy, he's struggling to provide value. Sometimes he works out, like, the best example is Skellige. Those guys are often greedy and only have X-Men, and they can never play 2 X-Men at the same time. And that must be annoying as a Skellige player as well. You added like 3 X-Men to your deck and you play against Radovid, but you can never play more than 1. And if you do, they're just gonna get insta-locked and you lost the game. So I know that might seem like, wow, that's awesome. But for example, if you play against Reinforced Siege Tower Henselt, then you can just go Siege Tower, like whatever, like Priscilla or some other bullshit on the last row, because they love playing that, the Siege row, and place the Siege Tower like far away from the other one. Now suddenly you can only lock up a single Siege Tower. And best case scenario, again, you do 6 damage and lock up 1 unit. So he's, again, just the worst cleaver. But sometimes he actually feels like worst Demeritium Shackles, because you actually can lock up gold units. And the fact that you do 2 damage, you only have 1 target, and it can only be a non-gold. And yeah, in exchange for the non-gold status, you do 2 damage. So Mr. Radovid, he struggles, but he can be really good as well. And sometimes it's just really hard to justify these lock units when you can just kill them. Like, when you just can kill minions. Like, I know, for example, Reveal Nilfgaard is complete garbage, but let's just go there. I believe Mango now. Nope. Oh, I messed up. That's it. So for example this, like Arakas and Mangonos kind of the same thing. If you kill them, they are not coming back. So would you lock this up, or would you just send it in the graveyard? Because if you cleaver this Mangono, you're trading a 6-point silver for a 6-point bronze. Let's ignore for the fact that Reveal Nilfgaard is complete garbage. And same thing with Arakas. But if you laser the Mangono, you're trading a bronze for a bronze that is actually key in their strategy. And damage just trumps lock many times. And you already want to lock like really powerful abilities. Or for example an Alquist. Alquist. Your opponent has an Alquist. And what you gonna do? Play a cleaver, so you're trading a 6-point silver for a 6-point silver. I'm like, he can just play Alquist anytime. But you gotta have a cleaver in hand, so it's technically it's better for him. But if you trade an Ulcer's Thunder for an Alquist, that's a completely different situation. That's a great trade. So that's it. Damage is often better than lock. Lock is sometimes okay, but can be removed by decoy. And locking up 3 adjacent units is yeah, is not the best. And Mr. Shackles over here, this need to be a lot better. Like no one would include this. Like no one would include this to simply shut down Yennefer Conjurer or Villain, just in case you run into one. The only reason this is included is in the spy decks with Leto, but the spy decks actually have another problem on their own, of their own. Anyway, that's it, guys. Hope this could spark a conversation about locks and the value of locks, and just tell me what you think, because I would like to hear it. Sometimes multi-locks can be great, They can just give you great value, but yeah, like it's not very consistent. There's no like, hey, either I lock or rather it often just feels like a bronze card you would never include in your deck. If you could include this in your deck, if this was a bronze card, I don't know. I would probably not include it. I would not include it for sure. I would add Ox for sure. But this one, forget about it. And it would be actually a lot better as a bronze card than a hero power. Because as a bronze card, it would be secret if you have it or not. But as a hero power, it's face up. And often it's completely worthless. It is more of a preventive measure. It's more of a hero power you never use. It's something you just have on your face. And your opponent plays around it. But the hero power itself never becomes valuable. Unless your opponent just makes a mistake. So that's my take on it. So Radovid is the stinkiest, along with the Shackles. This is not really a good value. Ox is basically a must-have. Idli, forget about it. And you can add Cleaver, he becomes okay. Some of the times, but in many cases, you're just better off killing the guys. So that's it, guys. Tell me what you think. And see you around and have a good one.